Hey guys, welcome back to part 3 of the project build. We've got a massive day today in the shed. Billy is fitting up the brand new plywood for the transom and I'm going to be starting underneath the hull. So stay tuned, it's going to be a good episode.
So first things first, we stencil out on the new bit of plywood and we're just tracing around the edges so we're not wasting too much of the ply. So it might be better to use a jigsaw here, but we just had a circular saw in house, so we just use this to cut out the ply, making sure that you're outside the line because you can always cut more later. First one cut. Not bad, Billy. Just going to quickly test fit it.
Too bad, eh?
Little bit here, a little bit there. Cut a little bit on the sides. And she should slide in.
Chop here, one there.
I'll just go get a permanent marker. That should be sitting pretty well flush. So we've got two 18mm bits of plywood and that sits pretty well flush with the existing fiberglass. So we're going to cut out another template with the spare wood we have and start epoxying. So considering how expensive marine ply is, we ended up stenciling out the second bit of wood on the same piece. We're going to have a little bit of extra here and a little bit over there, but it'll be fine. We've got one solid piece in there and once it's all epoxied and fiberglassed up, it'll be strong. We're going to take both of the bits of ply out, epoxy it all up, screw it into place, clamp it as much as we can and get that rock hard dry so we can start the fiberglassing. What we're going to do is just mix up some bog. So any little gaps that we miss, we're going to fill it up with some filler. So when we sand it back, we've got a nice edge to fiberglass too. So Billy's just making that now. And we're on our way to getting a brand new transom. So we're using an epoxy base resin to sandwich the woods together.
One was measured 2 to 1.
2 to 1 with the epoxy.
By weight, 605. Yeah, yes.
Perfect, Bill.
Yeah, 5 on good, eh?
Very good. So we're going to use some Epiglass to actually thicken up the epoxy so it's almost like a tacky glue. This is very, very fine stuff. Just makes that epoxy a little bit more thicker. It's getting thick now.
Yeah.
Look at that, Billy. That's why you're on the big bucks, mate.
A bit of a blank. Right, how's it going now? My glue.
Beautiful, isn't it? So you just butter that on and that helps the fiberglass stick to the new plywood. Look at that. That looks cool. Just get some normal epoxy here and you want to pour this on, give it a nice coat. Now with marine ply, they're pretty good with not absorbing the epoxy and pulling it out of the fiberglass, whereas normal plywood you might have to give it a few coats with epoxy before you apply fiberglass or anything like that. Just grab some more of this. Plenty. it's ready to install. Well, the wood is in. We've screwed it down with a block of wood on the other side to kind of push it together. We've got this board here with some clamps to really clamp it into the existing fiberglass. Now we're just going to let that dry, and we've used that tacky epoxy to bog the sides as well where there was little gaps. So then when we sand it down, it'll be a beautiful surface to start fiberglassing onto. This fiberglass gets everywhere. So we got this same stuff as we used in the back of the transom, and we're just pasting it in here. So when it goes hard, we'll sand it back, ready for paint. After we seal it.
This is called a compression roller, and this just gets out all the little air bubbles from the epoxy and smooths out the fiberglass onto your surface that you're laying it on.
Alright guys, that's it for part 3 of the project build. Everything's all butted up and just a drying process now, so I'll see you in part 4 when we start fiberglassing the transom and start sanding these to shape. Thanks guys.